Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm John with Simple Man's Barbecue. Today we're making some homemade marinara sauce. We're making a big batch, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
A Simple Man's Barbecue.
For our sauce, we're using tomato puree. We're not using tomato sauce because it already has seasonings and stuff in it. This is just tomato paste and water. That's all that's in here. No salt, nothing. So we're gonna go ahead and use this. We have 2 nice yellow onions we're gonna throw in there. 4 very large bulbs of garlic because I love garlic. And of course, the secret ingredient is we're gonna put a bone-in pork roast in there. This pork's gonna come out when we're done cooking the sauce, but this is gonna give the sauce such a great depth of flavor and that real wow factor. Now I like a lot of garlic. You guys don't have to use this much, obviously. And there are a few different methods to do this. I like a nice big chunks like this in my sauce, but other people actually puree this in a blender. So either way works good. We're also going to be putting in some fresh basil to the sauce. We're gonna pick a bunch just like this, make sure we get any dead parts off, and we're gonna stick this whole thing, including the stem, into the sauce. That looks like enough, nice big bunch. All right, our first step is we're gonna throw in our bone-in pork roast. I did salt this heavily, so we're just gonna brown it in the bottom. Then we're gonna put in our onions, our garlic, and then our puree with our basil. I add some olive oil. We're just gonna kind of be moving this around so we get a little color all the way around. And then we're gonna leave it fat side down. We're gonna put in our onions. And our garlic. Now we're gonna let this cook like this till the onions start browning up a little. If you're cooking at home on the stove, this is gonna be medium to low heat. Move some of these coals right underneath our pot here. All right, onions are browning up. Everything's looking pretty good. I'm gonna have to throw another log on. We're gonna give it about 5 more minutes. I'm gonna put in my basil and the puree. Beautiful. All right, we're ready for our basil. And finally, all of our puree. All right, everything's in there. Add a little salt. And every 15-20 minutes, we're gonna give this a stir. We're cooking more on medium-low now for the rest of our cook. Now, one of the hardest things to tell is when the sauce is done. And the easiest way is by our pork roast we have in here. So once it starts falling apart, to literally kind of melting off the bone, then that's when we know our sauce is done. And at that point, we will fine tune how much salt we're putting in here. All right, we've been cooking for about 2.5 hours now. It's looking good. And at this point, I'm actually going to pull out the stems of the basil. Some leaves fall out, that's all right. The reason why I'm pulling off the stems is that these will actually get the sauce, leave the sauce a little bitter if they cook too much in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these off and then we'll continue with our cook. All right, we got all the stems from the basil plants out. We still have some leaves in here. That's all right. We're gonna keep on cooking. All right, we've been cooking for about 4.5 hours or 11 beers, and the pork is just starting to break apart. So now I'm gonna start taking some samples, letting them cool off, and then figuring out how much salt I need to add to this. All right, we're gonna add some salt. Stir this up and see how it tastes. All right, the marinara sauce is done. So I made some fresh angel hair that we're gonna test out the new marinara sauce on.
A simple man's barbecue!
All right, I got all the stems from the basil plant out. Oh shit, no I didn't. All right, I got all the stems from the basil out. We still had some leaves in here. Fuck. So now I'm gonna start taking some samples, letting them cool off, and then figuring out how. So now I'm gonna start, the beers are getting to me.
Fuck you. You sound like Joe Biden up there.